Oh, I was going to introduce you. Welcome. Hello. This is fun. Oh my God. I know, we've had to turn people in. Can we all just start off by welcoming Max Fosh?
Thank you very much. Oh my God. I haven't done anything yet.
But you will.
Hopefully.
That's why they're applauding. Welcome to Cambridge.
Thank you very much. This is very overwhelming. Initially when Joel said, do you want to come and do it? I was like, yeah, sure. And he said, well, let's do a kind of a round table Q&A kind of thing. This is a slightly larger table than I was expecting, but thank you very much for turning up.
The thing is, I WhatsApped you and I was like, can we squeeze a few more people in? Because we were expecting to do a round table of like 12, but we've had to turn people away and we're at capacity. So this is exciting.
Amazing. I just want to say off the back, I understand that sometimes people might come here and just kind of talk at you for about an hour and a half, and you probably aren't that interested. I want to try and get as many questions that anybody has to try, and so that's hopefully the kind of vibe I'm going for this evening.
Yeah, so at any point, stick your hands up and we will come to you with little warning. Let's rewind in time.
Yeah.
A lot of people here have had a slightly unconventional uni experience for the last 2 years. Can you take us back and give us a day in the life of Max at Newcastle? What was it like?
I was there from 2014, and I went to Newcastle University in 2014, and I arrived, as you can tell by my voice, I come from a very privileged background, and I kind of arrived doing economics and finance, because it's what I basically only knew. And I kind of went to a few lectures and I thought, this is crap. And so I just threw myself into loads of different societies. I joined the radio, the theatre society, the cricket club. And so initially at university, my whole thing was I want to meet as many different people and do as many different things. And so I got really, really into radio. And I wanted to be a radio presenter. And I kind of did student radio, then I went to hospital radio and looked at all of the greats of the radio industry and thought, what do they do? What have they done? And I thought, right, I'll just do what they did. And I kind of did that. And so I kind of did student radio, hospital radio, and I got a few kind of demo opportunities at the stations in the northeast in Newcastle. Now, as you can imagine, going to BBC Radio Newcastle, like, why, welcome back to BBC Radio Newcastle. We've got Max here doing his demo. And I'm like, hello, nice to see you all. It was safe to say that I didn't get anywhere with my radio. And so I thought, oh my God, I've kind of worked for 3 years on this, what am I going to do? And so I then just kind of thought, well, I was obsessed with this idea about getting an agent. I thought, if I have an agent, the world is my oyster. And so I thought, I've got lots of radio stuff. I don't have any video stuff. So I just kind of picked up a camera and went out into Newcastle. Initially, actually, I asked to be on the University Television Society. They had like this program that was eventually interviewing students on nights out. And I asked to be on one of the presenters. They said, no, sorry. And I was like, great, I'll just do it myself. And so that's when I started making videos. And that was in September 2017. And so here we are, 4 years later.
And in terms of the videos, and people, feel free to stick up your hands at any point. There is a winning formula there. You kind of satirize people, well, like us, basically. There's a
like me,
well, like you, but you know, your camp, slightly Waitrosy brigade who populate a lot of the Russell Group unis, including this one. Are those the kinds of people you grew up with? Is that why you sort of get them and their eccentricities so much?
Yeah, to be fair, I have to say it didn't start like that. Like, when it started, I was just trying to interview anybody. So in the first kind of 6 months of me doing it in Newcastle, anybody that would say yes, I would interview. And the channel kind of picked up some steam when I went to a friend of mine who was at the University of Cirencester, which is an agricultural university, where there is a lot of tweed and a lot of shuffle jackets. And he said to me, oh, we're having this end-of-year party, you should come and film. And so I just kind of didn't think anything of it. So I went and filmed, and it's on private property. So I had to do it before they kicked me out. And then I released this video that said the poshest university in the world. And it just went megally viral. And I think that is the reason why I have grown up. I went to Harrow School. I grew up with people Like myself, and I've always said, I'm not ashamed of my background at all. I really am so grateful for having such a privileged background. But there are so many elements of the world that I inhabited at Harrow that I found to be so just so funny. Like, to only the people like who were outside, there isn't much self-awareness when it comes to that. So I guess the Posh series of me interviewing Plummy Waitrose goers was a little bit of my way of kind of giving it 2 fingers back. Any questions? Any at all? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can we wait till a microphone gets to you?
We got a mic. Is there a microphone coming?
Can we
to
get
you?
a microphone to you? Sorry, just so that it's picked up on the video.
Can I plug my Instagram?
No. Next question. Just so anyone doesn't know, there's a running theme that I do not let anyone plug their Instagram or anything on my social media. I'm not just being a massive...
Let's talk about the London mayoralty.
Yes.
When did you first become aware of Loza Fox? Fosh. No, Fox.
Lots of Fox. So the London Mayor, for those who don't know, I last month ran as an independent candidate in the London mayor election. Now, there are a number of reasons why I did this. The first reason was I was sat on my sofa and I saw a BBC News article that said, potential candidates for the 2021 mayoral London election, and had all the names. And at the bottom it said, to qualify as a candidate, you need to pay a £10,000 deposit, and you need to get 2 signatures from 2 registered voters in every borough in London. And I posted this on a group chat of mine with some of my mates, and my friend George, who was actually a teacher in Cambridge, said, you won't run for London mayor. And I kind of sat there and thought, I probably could. And so I then kind of had this manic 2 hours in my kitchen at home thinking, could I run? Is this feasible? Can I do this? Is it a stupid idea? And then the next day, I released a video saying, I'm running for London mayor, having not done any of the things required for you to run for London mayor. And it was kind of a way of me forcing myself to run for London mayor. So I then did all the paperwork. I paid the £10,000 deposit. And then I thought, well, I need an angle here. I need something that will be good content, will be a series of some kind. There needs to be entertainment, slightly more than just the joke top line of, I ran for London mayor, ha, ha, ha. And I saw that Lawrence Fox, Ulteravian, actor, singer, question mark? Yeah, I saw that he was also running, and I thought, bingo. I thought, I want to make this as apolitical as possible, because I understand that as soon as you go into politics from an entertainment point of view, you alienate 50% of your audience, no matter what side you sit on. And so I thought, how do I make this run for London mayor as apolitical as possible? And so I thought, well, if I just look at Lawrence and just say, we're both 2 Ulteravians who have no experience in politics, he's got 5 million quid in backing, I've got nothing, it could be quite fun. And then from there, we had all sorts of shenanigans and we got us all sorts. But yeah, that's how I decided to run against Lawrence Fox. Yes.
So you say you had nothing.
Yes.
I mean, those columnar caterpillar cakes must have cost a bit. So
They
how much
did.
actually went into your campaign?
So I'm actually filling out, this is really embarrassing, I don't have a printer at home, and they sent through the form for you to fill out for all your expenses of the campaign. And the limit you can spend is £470,000, right, to run for London mayor. Now, Lawrence had 5 million quid, but that's just generally for the party in general. I totted up my expenses, which included cameramen, essentially, and Colin the Caterpillar. I think I spent £170 across the entirety of the run. So that is what I say when I mean I had nothing. Yes, I had an audience there of 375,000 subscribers, but my aim was never to get votes, and we can see that by the fact that I came 19th out of 20.
A quick question just on what you were saying before.
Yes.
Are you at all political?
Very good question, Joel. Yes, I think I am political. I think that I have grown up in an environment in which my friends talk about politics, my family talks about politics. So yes, I definitely am someone who talks about politics a lot. Publicly, I don't, because I understand that my role as an entertainer is an entertainer. I hopefully will try and make people laugh and make videos that will entertain people. And I think that one's political views should remain relatively private. So yeah.
Cool. Up there, if we can get a microphone to you.
Henley, yeah. So I did a video at Henley. I went to... So what happened there? I did the Cirencester video where I went to the Royal Agricultural Uni. It got views, my man. And so I thought, right, posh events. And I found Henley, and I just went, filmed there, and had a great time. My view on rowing looks fun. I mean, sure. I think... I had this conversation with someone the other day about like Olympic sports that probably require the most amount of effort for you to win a gold medal. And we thought that in terms of like the misery you have to put yourself under to win the Olympic gold. And rowing is definitely up there because you're in a boat at 6 a.m. wet all the time. So my opinions on rowing is I'm so impressed and in awe, pun not intended, of the people who do it. But I'm too big and too lazy to get in a boat myself. Yes. Yes, Nicole Milana. So yes, there was another YouTuber who ran for London Mayor much more successfully than me. He came 5th and was the first of the rest, the best of the rest. So he behind the 4 main political parties, Green, Lib Dem, Conservative and Labour, he was number 1. Initially, I won't lie to you, it annoyed me. It really frustrated me because I kind of sat there and thought, oh, it's my idea. I did it first. But actually, it was probably a really good thing for me just in general to have him running because I was never really concerned with the amount of votes that I was going to get. So just having more eyeballs, having more of his audience, which is 3.5 million strong, on the election and thus me, was probably a good thing. So although initially it was quite frustrating, it probably definitely worked out for the best in the long run.
It's on its...
Hello.
Hello.
So just a quick question about your current shenanigans.
Yeah, my current shenanigans. Oh, okay. Was this 10 grand?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Just thought occurred to me. Have you heard of the sort of forest fern treasure of some guy that did something similar? He like buried a box somewhere.
I have. It was the inspiration behind this treasure hunt.
Yeah. So obviously in that, a lot of people kind of went a bit crazy with that one, with sort of threats and alleged murders and stuff. Are you worried that that might happen to yours?
There's a big difference between myself and Mr. Fenn, who buried $2 million in actual treasure. But yeah, so I have buried, I don't know who doesn't know, I have buried £10,000 in a briefcase somewhere in the mainland of the United Kingdom. And I, for the last 2 weeks, have been releasing clues as to where it might be. Before I get to your question, I've been really enjoying the messages that I've been getting and my family and friends have been getting about that. A lot of people have been messaging me saying, mate, if you tell me where the briefcase is, I'll give you $5 grand. So, do you understand who buried the treasure, good sir? I'm not that worried about it. I mean, that might be quite naive of me to say that. I'm not too worried about it. I've got quite a stringent set of rules. I've got a guy who really knows about treasure hunting who set the treasure hunt for me because I had this awful realization that I could set this treasure hunt and it could be A, absolutely impossible, or B, really easy. And he said, the most important thing about treasure hunting is you tell people where it isn't. So I told people it's not on private property, it's not anywhere dangerous, because he said people will, as you say, go to the ends of the earth, especially when they think they know where it is. But we're 2 weeks in. The treasure's still live, guys. Maybe this is the reason I'm here, I don't know.
Yes, over there.
Hiya.
Hello.
Do you ever wonder that your entertainment career could run out if YouTube could kind of reach the end of its kind of limit, either naturally on the platform or your subscribers get older? I don't know if they kind of grow up with you and stop watching YouTube. Do you kind of have an idea of where you'd want to go afterwards?
Yeah, it is the $1 million question. And you're right. Like, we have only seen YouTube to be around for 10 years, basically, and what the iteration is now with, like, professional YouTubers. And I can only name for YouTubers who are still as successful as they were at the beginning. And so it is something that I definitely look at. And YouTube generally is a total bitch. Like, if it's a totally, to be quite rude, because it is a beast that constantly needs feeding with content. As soon as you stop feeding it videos, or a video that people like, it will stop recommending you to more people, and it will slow your growth down, because it knows that people aren't going to watch adverts, so, oh, it's fine, there's loads of other creators. So it is something I think about a lot. It's definitely not sustainable long term, and the reason why you see YouTubers either embarrassing themselves and getting into trouble and doing stupid things, I'm talking Logan Paul and the Suicide Forest, or just burning out and having huge mental breakdowns, is because of this, because every single time you need to go bigger and bigger and bigger and set your hair on fire, metaphorically, more and more times to get noticed and get clicks. So it is mentally exhausting. So I don't see myself being on YouTube for a particularly long period of time. I'm doing stand-up as well. I'm actually going to... This was a really good gauge to know how many people I could draw in. I'm planning to come to Cambridge at some point in September and October. So if anybody's not in there last year, please come say hello. So I'm trying to basically put my fingers in loads of different pies, so that in the future, I'm not reliant on YouTube. Because I'm aware that in 5 years' time, everyone is going to be like, oh, do you remember that guy who used to interview posh people? That was fun. What's he doing now? I don't know. So yeah, it's definitely something I'm aware of, and I'm trying quite hard to not let that happen.
The guy just behind you.
Hi, would you run for Mayor of London again?
No. No, I wouldn't. Someone said, oh, would you run for the by-election in Stoke or something? I was like, no. I was ultimately, I did, one of the big parts of the campaign was to get young people to vote. And because I realized that, I looked at the data, and something like 49% of 18 to 25-year-olds voted in the 2019 general election. If you compare this to like Germany and Amsterdam or the Netherlands, they're on 68, 69% youth turnout. So I wanted to get more young people voting. I was only told after the election that they don't collect that data. So I will never know whether I had an impact or not. But I'm not going to run again, because I think that I've done as much as I can. I've very much retired from politics. And like running in the by-election in Stoke, for example, it's not quite as sexy. Like the London mayor election was the perfect like kind of Venn diagram between something I could make content over and people would enjoy watching it, and like a big enough election for people to care. Like someone said, you should run for prime minister. So you don't quite understand how it works in this country. So no, I'm not going to be trying to go to be an MP or anything like that. My political days have very much sailed, unfortunately.
Some of us think by-elections in Stoke are very sexy.
Yeah, some, especially the people in Stoke, I would imagine.
Sure. Yes, over there. With a lovely jumper.
That could be everyone.
The blue stripe on the jumper, yeah.
Do you see kind of traditional formats on your channel like Street Smart and the kind of typical one-on-one or even one-on groups interviews out on the street coming back post-COVID, or do you think your channel has moved on either for that or other reasons?
So Street Smart was a series I did when I first started, interviewing students on nights out, and then it evolved into just events. And it was what kind of kickstarted the channel. But I did it for 2.5 years. And so the short answer to that is probably no, not in the long form. Every week there's a new Street Smart, because it became a chore after a while, like filming them and making them and editing them, because I was just on autopilot. What I do, I go to a university town. I've been to Cambridge twice, for example. Come to Cambridge, ask a question like, in Cambridge I asked like the most philosophical questions in life. It's like, what's the meaning of life, Joel? Joel will be 6 points down, will say something reasonably silly. I'll come back with a retort, clip that, great, next. So it became very formulaic, and I realized that I wasn't really enjoying it. And that's the biggest, to go back to the question for the lady behind, it's the biggest kind of issue that YouTubers face, is that you get an audience for one type of thing, you then start hating making that type of thing, but your audience is like, whoa, buddy, you're the interview guy. Don't try anything else. So that has been something that I've tried really hard to work on, and how to figure out how you do switch from being the interview guy to the running for mayor guy. And that guy, so for me, the suffix is always going to be something that I'm going to try and change. So after after the 10 grand series, I'm going to spend 24 hours with a naturist society. So then I'll be the naked guy. I don't know. So it's always attempts to try and make videos that are like new for a new audience. But yeah. So unfortunately, Street Smart won't be coming back in the series, but I might nip in every now and then. 21st of June, I'm definitely doing a Street Smart then.
Yes.
That's the awkward microphone pause.
Hello. Has your attitude to content creation changed since the recent influx of like viewers coming from the mayor election?
The recent influx of what? Sorry, viewers?
Viewers, yeah, from your election campaign.
Yes and no. You become, the more you do it, the more obsessed you get with like titles and thumbnails. So I speak to YouTubers. I spoke a lot to Nico Armilano, who was also one of the YouTubers, and he's got 10 times my audience. And I asked him what he felt was important in a video. He said the only thing that was important in a video was the thumbnail. And that was like really disheartening for me to hear. Like, I just spent like 6 weeks making what I thought was an incredible 8-part series. There's a love, there's loss, there's lots of Fox. And so I think my attitude towards it now is what would I like to make? What would I think will be exciting? But also, what's the title and the thumbnail? I often get suggestions of people saying, oh, you should make a video about this. Someone said, oh, you should join the Freemasons. I thought, yeah, it's fine, but like, what's my title there? I joined the Freemasons. That's not particularly exciting. But I've got a video hopefully planning on I made fish and chips from the Thames. Hello, people are clicking on that. So it has become a little bit more manipulative in terms of what the title and the thumbnail is going to be before I think of the video. But if there's a great idea, I just want to do it, and then I'll just think of the title and the thumbnail later.
The sunglasses.
Yes. Sunglasses? What was that? Oh, yeah. There.
At the start, you said something about taking the piss out of posh people as your way of putting 2 fingers up at your background. Why do you feel the need to put 2 fingers up at Harrow or your background?
It's a very good question. Thank you very much. It's like, well, here we are. That's why we're at Cambridge now. Let's get cracking. I need to remember this is being recorded as well. I felt like there was a lot of what I dislike about. I'd also like to preface this, as I said, I've got lots of amazing friends who had the same background as me, and I love them dearly. But there is a certain pastiche or a stereotype that I find quite boring, which is when someone will make their background their whole personality, their adjective to describe themselves, especially from the kind of the privately educated set, and I find that quite boring. Like, I think there are so many amazing things that you can do to kind of show who you are to yourself to the world, whether that's a job or whether that's a hobby or a career or whatever it is. But I feel that, yeah, there's something about it that I don't quite resonate with, and it's just not something for me as well. Also, I feel like there's not many people who are taking the piss out of them. I thought, who better to do so than someone like me who is kind of one of them? That's what I'd say.
I'm wondering, did you enjoy Harrow?
No. And yes. I think it's easy to sit here in retrospect being like, oh, it was horrible. But I think I learned so much at that Harrow, but my day-to-day life I didn't enjoy. I've got none of the people that I see I would call my best friends are people from Harrow. But then again, it gave me some incredible opportunities, and I really learned a lot about what I was about myself, really.
Cool. Yes, in the red.
Were you ever worried that you might accidentally become London Mayor?
I had this question asked me quite a lot, and the first thing I would have done, I would have sworn on the stage at the London election, because can you imagine that? I think I then would have just had the idea maybe if I could call another election, but that probably wouldn't have been possible. So I would have just surrounded myself with people who knew what they were doing and be a total puppet for the next 4 years. So if there was ever a situation in which I was going to become London Mayor, that's what would have happened. I'd like to preface this that I got 0.3% of the votes. So I don't think there was any danger of that happening at all. Count Binface, I think, beat me by like 10 times the votes. So no, it would have been a real oh shit moment, but it didn't happen, so we don't need to worry about it.
In terms of the mayoral race, I'm just wondering, some of Loz's chums aren't known for being incredibly nice. Did it ever get a bit nasty?
Only ever with Loza.
Not his entourage.
Not his entourage. His team were... one of his team was the one who was leaking me all the information as to where he was going to be. So... his team loved me. It was so funny. Like when I'd rock up at the... So what would happen is that Lawrence... I don't know why I keep on Loza. Lawrence was... So he would only send out press releases to what he was doing to media outlets that he deemed to be like, okay, his mates. And so the first time I did it, so the first time I rocked up, he was doing his big unveiling of his big battle bus that said Lawrence Fox, the Reclaim Party. I got my small red car and put the words, "Don't believe everything you see on a bus," on it and parked next to it. But so initially after that, they knew who I was and they got chatting to me. I know they were always very nice. And Loza initially was very nice with me. But there was something, I don't know what happened, but obviously there was a moment where it all flicked a switch for him when he realized, oh, he's actually got, I don't know, he's obviously making a difference. I think people were going up to him on the street being like, oh, Max Fosh is running against you. It's like, oh, actually this guy has got people who's watching his videos. So no, it never got nasty with any members of his team. I actually, unofficially, to the cameras, unofficially, I heard that Jeremy Hosking, his main donor, voted me second preference in the election. Again, I don't know whether that's true, but I've been told it's true from a reliable source. So I think his team really enjoyed it, but Lawrence himself didn't. And it would have been such a great opportunity for him to lean into it, to debate me, and to make me look like an idiot with the fact that I had absolutely no political kind of ideas or legislation. But yeah, the only time that I had any animosity and nastiness was from Lawrence himself.
Yes, I see a hand raised.
Hi.
Hello.
When you were younger, what did you think you wanted to be when you grew up?
There were a number of options on the table. Number one was traffic warden. Then it became archaeologist. Then it became marine biologist. And then it was movie star for a bit, just the generic movie star. And then it went into insurance like daddy. And then we're kind of then went radio and now YouTube / kind of comedy. So yeah, it changed a lot, but kind of think my first memory was, I wanted to be a traffic warden. I think I just like the outfit.
Hi, I wanted to ask about one of your earlier sort of viral videos where you pretended to be a supermodel and managed to get quite far in that. I was wondering how you negotiate that situation, because it seemed to escalate quite quickly.
Yeah.
And how your team reacted, and if that kind of informed your later videos and how you dealt with situations.
So I'll tell the whole story about this. So what happened was I just graduated from university. I'd done the street smart stuff, and I was working in a bar in London, and a guy who I watched on YouTube called Zach Alsop walked past me on the street, and he had recently started a YouTube channel called The Zach and Jay Show. Now, Zach Alsop was quite infamous for sneaking into places. He got onto the gold medal winner's bus at the Olympics and the parade. He got on the ring with Anthony Joshua, got on the Conor McGregor dressing room. And I just said to him, hi, mate, if you ever need someone to help film, let me know. And he replies, yeah, great. So I started working for him. And about 3 months in, he called me and said, Max, we've got a video idea. We want to break you into London Fashion Week as a fake model. I was like, okay. sure, guys, anything you say. Now, they were quite well established in YouTube, and I was starting out, so just to be associated with them would be a really great opportunity for me. The problem was, Fashion Week finished in 48 hours. We honestly had 2 days. They'd had this idea halfway through Fashion Week. So we had no plan. The next day, we got up, we went to Primark and WH Smith and picked the weirdest things off the shelves and just thought, how can we make this into an outfit? So the various things we had, we got fragile packing tape on boxes and wrapped it around my legs. There were some pink marigold gloves that I had in my flat. We just snipped the fingers off the ends and just wore those. Some chemistry safety goggles were worn. And then it was all pinned together. It was a rug that was on my sofa. It was bright pink that we put with safety pins. And our plan was literally just to walk to where all the shows were happening. We had one friend with a camera who would be triggering the flash and would be shouting, Max, Max, over here, over here. We did that, and the reaction was mental. We got there, and we got the flash, Max, Max, over here. And 20, 25, 30 photographers surrounding me. Over here, who are you wearing, blah, blah. And I had thought of the idea about the question, who are you wearing? Because we've been to WH Smith. I looked at what W&H stood for in WH Smith. It stands for Walton Henry. So I was just saying I was wearing Walton Henry Smith, which sounds like the most legitimate fashion designer imaginable. And so that first day, the penultimate day of Fashion Week, we did that stunt. And a few photographers thought, oh my God, who is he? Oh my God, I love his look. At which point, Zach, who was filming, had to come up with a name on the spot. We hadn't discussed what my name of the model was going to be. So we just said, he's called Maximus Bucharest from Bucharest. That was how we winged it. And so we went home that night and we're like, well, that was fun. God, we got a video out of that, guys. Well done. And then we got an invite to a show the next day. So I thought, okay, we've been legitimately invited to a show now. We can go all out. So we then found more stuff that we could put on me, which included some bike shorts. We got, the big plastic pillows you get in packaging. We wrapped it around my collar to make it some sort of like Elizabethan Marie Antoinette kind of vibe. Stupid glasses, the marigolds back on. We got some prison shoes that you get because my mate Zach had spent a night in a jail from a break-in. So I was wearing some prison shoes. I had Jamie Vardy's autobiography to read at the fashion show. Just thought it was just some light reading. And we went, and again, it was the same reaction. I love who you're wearing. It's amazing. God, you're so fashionable. And we've posted this video. It went so megally viral. I think I was on the front page of the Pakistani Evening News. I was being discussed in some sort of parliament about fashion and the way that fashion is going to be going and the direction of fashion is in. I am now apparently taught about at fashion college about how you can fake it in the fashion industry. And so that video got, I think it's just on about 25 million views. Annoyingly, it wasn't on my channel because that video made about 30 grand. And I saw none of it. The guys, Zach and Jay, they kept it. But it allowed me to kind of get that whole audience had just come over and saw my stuff. So it was a huge benefit. We then tried it in Paris about 6 months later. It flopped so badly. We did a follow-up and it just did terribly badly. And it was also one of the worst experiences of my life. But yeah, that's what happened in the fashion show video.
Tioni?
Hi, I'm a big fan. So I was just wondering how your friends and family reacted to you getting viral and whether people have treated you differently since you've become big on social media and stuff.
The friends and family stuff is funny because obviously, so my parents now understand what I do, my friends understand what I do. Their friends don't. So that's always fun, is when I go to meet one of my mate's mums, or my mum's mates, not my mate's mums. I don't meet my mate's mums, guys.
Strong denial there.
Yeah. And they say, oh, what do you do? Or what they say is we've seen your YouTube stuff. It's yes, thank you. Then what comes next is, you should film this. It's I don't think anyone cares about eating spag bowl on a Sunday, Linda. So that's what normally happens. So I get that you should film this a lot. And actually, me and my mates, we've parties, any party we go to, we play bingo. If someone comes up to me and says, you should make a video about this, then we have to take a drink of some description. So that's normally what happens. But people, I think people just are a bit apathetic to it in general because they don't really, I think they think I just swan around, make videos and post it and that's it. They don't really see it as a proper job. And it isn't. It's a stupid job, frankly. It's an utterly absurd job. But it is a job nonetheless. And so what the biggest issue I've had is people saying, oh, can you share this on your story? Or can you make a video about this, my new art collection? That's quite difficult because I have to try, because for majority of people, social media is just a fun thing to have. But for me, social media is my job. And I need to make sure that I'm putting out content that people enjoy. And people's attention is so valuable and it's so easy for someone to go elsewhere. So as soon as you start posting things, people are like, I don't care. You can lose a huge swathe of your audience. So that is quite tricky when people say, oh, can you do a shout out quickly for my new fashion brand? It's like, well, it's not gonna make a difference, honestly. But ultimately, my family have been so supportive. I do often have to preface when I'm going away for silly, like I went to a porn convention in Vegas last January. That was really tricky to swing to my mum. Mum, I promise you it's for work. So yeah, it's been really nice actually. People have been really supportive and really understanding about the job that I do, and I think it's because it's becoming more and more popular. People do think that I make millions of pounds though, because obviously all of the articles like YouTuber makes $10 million by gaming in their room, and I'll just get a message being like, is this how much money you're making? Definitely not. So yeah, that's the reaction I get.
Yes, near the front.
Hi.
Hello.
Just a question about content creation again.
Yeah.
Where's the thought process that goes, like, what is your thought process with regards to creating new ideas? And, like, when you bought the roundabout, is this something that you discussed with your mates, or is it, like, your own ideas? Or, like, it would be really interesting to know, like, where that comes from.
So it's not, often people might think that I sit there in my kitchen with a notepad and I kind of like the Zach Galifianakis, like all the numbers come at me. It's like, and I just finish up after 20 minutes with a brilliant idea all formed. It doesn't happen like that. Often it comes from initial ideas, original ideas that have already happened and changing them slightly. So, or things that I see on the street. So I bought a roundabout recently. It's in Gloucestershire. It's lovely. It's called the Swingson. So the Swingson roundabout. We have fun. So with that, I was just driving and I saw a roundabout that said, advertise your business here. Call now. And I thought, that'd be quite fun. So I called that number, found out it cost $3.5 grand to buy one of those for 12 months. So I thought, how can I get the next best thing? So I just then contacted a parish council and said, I'll buy a roundabout or a little green patch of space that you have for £500 for a year. And they said yes. So that's how that particular one worked. But the opposite end of the spectrum, so the BBC video, I printed my CV on my car and parked it outside the BBC Radio 1, which is my dream job. That is essentially taking an idea that happened in the 2008 financial crisis when a guy called Sam bought a billboard with his final £500, and the billboard just said, hiresam.com, I'm looking for a job. He got a job, and then with his first pay packet, he bought another billboard that said, thanks so much for your help, guys. And so that was like, I thought, oh, that was a great idea, and it did really well. How can I just change that and adapt it to me? So a lot of the time, that's all it is. There's no real such thing as a totally original idea. Telling the ugliest town in the UK it's beautiful was just a YouTube channel called Yes Theory threw a party in the most boring town in America. So I thought, okay, they've done that. How can I make it English? Ugly, Hemel Hempstead. How do I tell it it's beautiful? Hire a plane with a massive banner that says you're beautiful to me, Hemel Hempstead. Simple. So that's how the thought process works. So it's kind of initial idea, how can I tweak it? Or something I see in day-to-day life, and how can I make that my own?
Hypothetically.
Yes.
Let's say there was off the record, let's say there was a small to medium-sized university society with 60 or 70,000 subscribers.
Right, okay, I see what this is saying.
Its younger brother at Oxford had a couple more subscribers. What would you do to change that?
I tell you exactly how you do this, Joe. And the answer is very, very simple. And I honestly think this would get views. Call out the president of the Oxford Union to a boxing match.
Adam. Adam, I know you're watching this. 21st of June, right here.
The venue would be.
I know the venue's great. Adam,
if you want to get, I will compare it. I will do everything in my power to make that happen.
Would you actually?
I actually would do that.
Okay, this is happening. Okay, we will at them on social media afterwards.
It would bang. Like, it would totally just go huge.
See, Eddie Hearn sat where you're sitting and said exactly this. He'd promote it. So if you compare, he promotes.
He's going to have much more sway than I will, has to be said. Hello, everyone, to a boxing match, I think.
Lovely. Moving swiftly on. Yes. Over there.
So my question is like sort of just about like the fusion between entertainment and politics. So like obviously you, Nico, you know, Count Binface, the rest of them, they sort of were running for London Mayor, just having a laugh and not really wanting to actually win or anything. But there have definitely been politicians in the past that have sort of used entertainment to end up winning and didn't really have any policies or any legislation to actually stand on, such as you know, Donald Trump 2016, Boris Johnson, you know, 2011 when he ran for London Mayor, and recently the 2019 general election. So I'm just sort of wondering, are you worried that actual politicians or people who actually like are, you know, trying to win will end up using entertainment as like a means to get there without any policies or anything like that?
Yeah, and this was actually the main criticism that was levied against me during the mayor run, which is saying you're encouraging your young and impressionable audience to vote for you in this election. And it is an interesting point, but I don't think that it's specific to YouTubers. It's, as you said, Trump in America, the Ukrainian president or prime minister, I can't remember which one, he was a comedian. He just had an audience and he came up with some relatively serious policies or had a serious stance. And because he had his audience, he got in. So yeah, Nico, myself, Binface, we're all running on a bit of a joke ticket, but I don't think that that criticism can be levied against us and nobody else. Yes, I do think that it's becoming increasingly important that you have an audience because traditional media is becoming less and less impactful on the younger generation anyway. But I don't think that it is an issue just consigned to YouTubers who are going to be running in future elections or comedians. It's anybody with an audience. And I would like to add to that, the age of that voting audience doesn't make them more or less impressionable. I really abhorred the idea that an 18-year-old would be swayed into voting for somebody like me more than a 50-year-old, for example. When in fact, that's exactly what happened with Trump in 2016. He was managed to leverage his audience of kind of probably middle-aged men and women to vote for him. So I think it's quite a patronizing point of view to say, oh, they're young, therefore they're going to be told what to do and they'll do it. I don't think that's the case at all. There is a larger conversation, which I'm definitely not qualified to answer, about whether influence and celebrity is having a greater impact on politics in our day-to-day lives. That's a whole different debate that I'm sure I think you've already had on Thursday a couple of years ago. But I think, yeah, I reckon it is going to be a problem going down the line. But to like target YouTubers or entertainers, I think, is missing the bigger picture.
Yes, over there.
Hiya. Obviously, a lot of what you do is putting yourself in sort of uncomfortable sort of situations that other people would like to put themselves in, but sort of don't want to do it for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether you could tell us what your sort of worst and best experiences of sort of uncomfortable situations are.
Worst experience I've ever had filming a video was at the porn convention. Hands down, the worst weekend of my life. This is more kind of the unconventional series. I have a series where I go to weird and wonderful conventions around the UK. Well, not just conventions, but just experiences. And the idea behind the series isn't to go there and to mock the people there. It's to go there to understand why they do it and hopefully get stuck in. Not with the porn convention. So I went to a metal detecting convention. It was honestly one of the best days of my life. Like, I turned up and I left thinking, oh my God, I can totally see why these people do it. It is so much fun. So the worst experience was, yeah, definitely the adult entertainment convention. I got there, and it was just the aura of the whole place was very sad. And the performers themselves, firstly, it was hilarious because performers would have little plinths, and people would queue up to meet them and chat to them and have a meet and greet. Already, that interaction is incredibly strange. The idea that somebody's coming to talk to you because they know they've watched your content online, so much that they want to meet you in person and have a photo with you, bizarre. What I also enjoyed is the male performers had no one queuing for them. The female performers had loads of people queuing for them. And the male performers just like chatting with each other, having a great old time. But what I really disliked about the porn convention was that as soon they switched on and switched off in front of you. So as soon as you became within 10 feet of them, they'd switch on. Hi, how you doing? Lots of that, hey, what's going on? My God, you look so great today. You turn your back and walk away, and they're back to being really grumpy, really sarky, don't want to have anything to do with you. So that's probably my worst experience. What else have I really enjoyed? God, there's been quite a few. I've really enjoyed the different comments I get to people when I'm filming on the street. So a lot of people think that I am the BBC, especially when I film like at events. Like I'll be at Henley and it's like a drunk guy will go, "Are you guys a BBC?" It's like, I've got a tiny Canon and a sort of microphone. If you think that's the BBC, then great. But it is generally, one thing I have learned, especially, finally, with the interviews and people on nights out, whatever you give people who have had a few drinks, they will give back to you times 10. So if you're like, "Hiya guys, how are you? Do you mind? I'm so sorry. Do you mind if I go for a quick interview, 2 minutes of your time?" They're like, "Yeah." But if you're like, "Hey mate, can I just chat to you for 2 minutes?" They're ready to throw down. It's Joel against the Oxford guy all over again. So that's what happens. But there's little tricks that I've learned from filming.
One final question. Yes, you over there.
You mentioned that your job is YouTube. Like, how do you manage your work-life balance when is it like a 9 to 5 that you focus on this, but isn't it more difficult when social media kind of never ends for you?
Yeah. My girlfriend is sat quite next to you, and she will tell you exactly how bad I am with that. It becomes your life. Like, the YouTube has an app called the YouTube Analytics where you can see how your video is doing, how many subscribers you have, how much money you've made. And when a video is doing well, you are literally like the lab rats pressing the cocaine button, because the subscriber number is going up by like 20 every time you refresh it. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And your videos are ranked compared to your last 10 videos that you posted after the same period of time. So after an hour, this video ranks 5 out of 10. So it's like your normal kind of Instagram, but it's quantitative, it's ranked against every other thing you've made, and you can see exactly where you stand amongst all of your competition. And so it can absolutely eat you alive. And my 9 to 5 is it's not that structured. So sometimes I'll have days off where I have like 3 or 4 days off where I don't really do very much. I'll maybe post a few stories here and there, and then I'll film and have to edit really quickly and turn that around really quickly. So it goes from nothing to, oh my God, there's so much work to do, to nothing. So it's kind of like a little bit like a university life in that sense. It's like, the essay will be done. Oh my God, the essay's not done. So there is a real struggle trying to find that balance between the two, because it meshes into just one big blob. And that is ultimately the most unhealthy thing you could possibly imagine going long term. So I try really hard not to make that the case, but sometimes I fail.
Okay, I'm afraid our hour's up, but this has been so fun. Come back for the boxing match.
I'm so here for the boxing match. You have no idea.
Can we all put our hands together for Max Fosh, everyone?
Thank you very much.